Chapter 373 All sides making their moves. This was where Huo Yua demonstrated his intelligence. His questions were very precise, and so he did not arouse his woman's suspicions. After some haggling, Huo Yua was able to rent, at an exorbitant price, a cargo ship 150 meters long, which would carry 10,000 kilograms worth of goods. This cargo ship was equipped with 10 Class 3 Sol cannons, manned by 10 Class 3 Sol engineers. It was not cheap. In total, Huo Yua had to pay 4,500 gold Sol coins. Huo Yua paid 1/3 of the deposit up front. He would load his goods after 1 week. He put his receipt away and started to leave the Sun Moon Harbor Shipping Company with Nan Kyokayu. A look of joy flashed in his eyes. His preparations were sound. However, not long after he left the building, he was blocked by some men. They were all muscular and rugged, and smelled of the ocean. They stood in a row, completely blocking the rather narrow street. What do you want? Before Huo Yua could say anything, Nan Kyokayu had already opened her mouth. Among the 4 buff men, the leader smiled and said, "We don't want much. We noticed that you've just rented a huge ship, and we think you'll need some men to help you out. Hence, we've decided to offer you our services to help you transport these goods. How about it?" While he seemed to be asking, his tone was off. Huo Yua said plainly, "There's no need. We have enough men on our own. Don't find trouble with us. We're backed by a major chamber of commerce." The leader laughed and said, "So what if you're backed by a chamber of commerce? We're Bluebeard's men. Have you heard of him? Bluebeard?" Huo Yua and Nan Kyokayu naturally did not know who he was. They looked at each other. Nan Kyokayu looked dumbfounded, but Huo Yua's eyes were soon clouded with fear. You're Bluebeard's men? What do you want?" The one in charge was satisfied with Huo Yua's reaction as he said, "Let's find a quiet place to speak." As he said that, the 3 of them advanced forward menacingly, surrounding Huo Yua and Nan Kyokayu. Huo Yua looked scared, but his right hand grabbed Nan Kyokayu's arm tightly, stopping her from acting rashly. They were led down a quiet and empty alley by these big men. Once they were well into the alley, the leader said with a leer, "Young man, it seems that you know about Bluebeard. There's nothing more to say then. For the safety of your goods, you have to pay tolls. As Bluebeard's men, we'll follow the rules. We don't want much from you, just 1/3 of the value of your goods. When you load them onto the ship later, we'll come down to do an estimate. By coming down today, we're just making sure you know of our presence. At the same time, we're giving you a chance. It's just a formality." As he said this, he extended his right hand and rubbed his thumb, index finger, and middle finger together. The fear quickly faded from Huo Yua's face as he let go of Nan Kyokayu's hand. "Kyokayu, I know that you have been trying to hold it in for the whole day. Here's your chance. These men are pirates. Destroy them humanely, and try and keep it clean." After he said that, he immediately started to walk away. "Rascal, where do you think you're going?" One of the brawny men shouted. He was already trying to grab Huo Yua. However, at this moment, a ray of pink light shot out from next to Huo Yua. It landed on the man, who collapsed before he could even shout. With Huo Yua's cultivation and spiritual power, he had already seen that of the 4 buff men, only the leader was a rank 20 Sol Grandmaster. The rest were just normal men who were a tad more muscular. Pirates of the Sun Moon Empire. How could they be good? There were bursts of curses, cries, and grunts coming from behind him, which stopped extremely quickly. Before Huo Yua could even walk out from the alley, he could smell perfume coming up from behind him. Nan Kyokayu dusted her hands off and said unhappily, "Not fun. They were all too weak. This doesn't satisfy me. You're a sly fellow indeed, tricking them here before striking." Huo Yua turned to look at her and hissed, "Kyokayu, grow some brains. Did you want to kill them out in the open? Wouldn't that reveal who we are? Let's head back." He was pleased with how Nan Kyokayu had handled it. The light of annihilation annihilated more than just soul power. The alley was spotless, and without a single trace of a fight. He did not rush to leave, but instead stayed one night in Seajoy City. The next morning, just as the sky was brightening, the Tang sect resumed their journey. This time, they did not fly. Huo Yua dictated that they would not continue their journey by air. The Sun Moon Empire had the most surveillance-type soul tools of all the countries on the continent. Every city was guarded by them, and they might even have some planted in the wilderness. With their strength, they would need around 2 days to reach their destination by land. Sunrise City, where the hostages were kept, was located in the south of the Sun Moon Empire. They made their detour so as to not expose their identities. They resumed their journey, but did not travel off the beaten path. Instead, they went by the main roads, and they moved ahead at full speed. Every time they ran into other travelers, Huo Yua would use imitation to make them invisible. They were thus able to bypass the other travelers without being noticed, and without slowing down. As they moved forward, they did not encounter any difficulties. As the Tang sect moved quickly towards Sunrise City, a bunch of other uninvited guests appeared near the Sun Moon Empire's border. Elder Song flew at the forefront, Elder Song next to him, with the 2 of them in the lead. They were followed by other elders, as well as the Dean of Shrek Academy, Yan Shaosh, and the Vice Dean of the Soul Tool Department, Chen Duojuo. While there were only 8 of them, their combined power was nearly unprecedented in history. Chen Duojuo had recently risen to rank 95, and formally become a transcendent Duluo. Hence, it could be said that all 8 of them were transcendent Duluo. Their combined power was even higher than when they had last taken action during the tournament. "Song Zi, do we really need to do this? It's completely against the rules," Elder Song said in a low voice, frowning. Elder Song smiled and said, "So, the actions of the Sun Moon Empire are legal? After the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament, they stopped so many team members from the various teams, and even detained and imprisoned some of them. That's against the rules, too." Elder Song sighed and said, "The Sun Moon Empire is committing a grave sin. I'm afraid the evil Soul Masters." Elder Song shook his head and said, "They dare not. In terms of soul engineers and overall strength, the Heavenly Soul Empire and the Star Luo Empire are weaker than the Sun Moon Empire. However, in terms of Soul Masters only, they are not afraid. Unless the evil Soul Masters are seeking death, or are using all their strength, they would not dare to do anything. Let's go. If we don't create a ruckus, what can Yua do? He should be in the Sun Moon Empire by now. How could you consent to Huo Yua taking part in this operation?" Elder Song asked. Elder Song waved his hand dismissively. "Old Song, don't be too fixated on the past. Yua appears to be quite different now. Furthermore, the ultimate soldier plan isn't supposed to raise a flower in a greenhouse, right? If he doesn't experience hardship, how can he better himself? As long as we make a big enough ruckus, he should be safe." "All right," Elder Song agreed with a reluctant nod. Elder Song led them forward, and soon was in Sun Moon Empire airspace. As this was the border, the density of surveillance-type soul tools was the highest here. Instantly, 7 or 8 high-altitude surveillance soul tools locked onto his position. Elder Song smiled, and pressed forward with his right palm. An intense yellow light shone from his body. Instantly, the sky appeared to collapse. An incomparably powerful aura radiated out from him. The high-altitude surveillance soul tools that had detected Elder Song all started to whine loudly. Even as they sensed the power of their target, they were all affected by it. The high-altitude surveillance soul tools were built on the foundation of sealed milk bottles, which provided them with enough soul power to spend a long time in the air. However, as Elder Song's soul power fluctuations were too vigorous, it caused the soul power in the sealed milk bottles to react adversely. Bang! Dazzling fireworks burst out nearby. Bang! 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 A series of explosions, accompanied by flashy red fireworks, followed the first one quickly. After a breath or two, all the high-altitude surveillance soul tools in a 2.5-kilometer radius were blown up by Elder Song's massive soul power. After Elder Song did that, the rest started to act too. With their transcendent Duluo strength, they did not need any flying-type soul tools to fly. The remaining 7 all flew off in different directions. After a short while, the pitch-black night sky started to light up again. A huge amount of aerial surveillance-type soul tools were destroyed at great speed. However, the Sun Moon Empire was still the most powerful empire on the continent. It quickly reacted and counterattacked. Powerful rays of light lit up on the ground as soul tools bombarded the sky. They were all wide-barreled soul cannons, and there were also other soul cannons which could immobilize, paralyze, or stun their targets. Only soul tools which were class 6 and above could hit targets at their altitude. Instantly, the entire sky was illuminated by bright, eye-catching scorching lights. The rays of light from the soul cannons were like a forest of death that enveloped everything. Faced with this formation, even a normal tidal Dulwo would panic and try to escape as quickly as he could. However, no matter how strong the Sun Moon Empire's defenses were, they were not designed to withstand transcendent Dulwo, or at least, they were not prepared to handle 8 of them. Faced with the rapidly rising rays of light, Elder Sun and the rest rose higher into the air. No one knew how many soul cannons the Sun Moon Empire had beneath them, so fighting them head-on was not a wise choice. However, no matter how powerful a soul cannon was, even if it was class 9, its range was limited. With their transcendent Dulwo cultivation, they could fly 3,000 meters into the air, a height which would allow them to dodge most soul tools. The 8 figures rose into the sky. Even if a soul cannon could strike them, it could not overcome their defenses. Without the help of the destroyed high-altitude surveillance soul tools, it would be difficult to lock onto their positions. However, Elder Sun and the others did not relax. They had seen the strength of the Sun Moon Empire's soul tools in battle, and understood how terrifying their opponents were. In Elder Sun's heart, he rejoiced at the fact that Huo Yua had destroyed the underground bunker. At that time, he had scolded the young man because that action might have impoverished many. However, now that he thought about it, he realized that had the huge warehouse not been destroyed, all the soul tools inside of it would have been deployed in war. Even transcendent Dulwo like them had to dodge to avoid getting hit by this many soul cannons. How would the soldiers of the 3 countries fare? The high-altitude bombardment did not last for very long. After a few minutes, the strong light coming from the ground started to slowly fade. At the same time, ground-based aerial surveillance soul tools started to scan the air using huge swaths of shapeless light waves to find Elder Sun and the others. However, the range of these soul tools was only about 1,000 meters. If not, there would no need for those high-altitude surveillance soul tools. The Sun Moon Empire only possessed this level of technology at the moment. After the ground-based aerial surveillance soul tools performed a scan, figures rose into the air and charged toward them in the sky. All of these figures had a light on their backs, which came from flying-type soul tools. There were hundreds of them. One of them, in the center, carried a large surveillance soul tool. Faced with a sudden attack, the Sun Moon Empire had come up with an all-around response. First, they bombarded their targets with all their might. Then, they used ground-based aerial surveillance soul tools to scan for them. Finally, they deployed their aerial warfare legion. Their plans were very well done. However, their enemies today were nearly invincible. If the Sun Moon Empire's soul engineering legions were powerful enough to resist the rest of the world, the Sun Moon Empire would not have had to wait to invade the other empires, or form an alliance with evil soul masters. Hence, when Elder Sun appeared with a smile in front of the 300 members of the aerial warfare legion, their end was near. Hundreds of soul cannons opened up on Elder Sun. In this legion, the most powerful soul engineer was at least class 7. However, faced with a powerful existence like a rank 98 tidal Dulwo, everything they did was futile. Elder Sun did not like killing, so he did not kill them straight away, but instead used his domain-type gravity control. All of the soldiers fell to the ground like flies that being doused with insecticide. The other elders did not slack either. Discussion and action were separate matters. Explosions rang out from the ground below. According to the unspoken rules of the continent, tidal Dulwo and high-level soul engineers would not attack ordinary people. This was why Elder Sun did not want to attack just now. However, Elder Sun had found a loophole. Their target was naturally not the ordinary soldiers of the Sun Moon Empire. However, faced with an attack by the aerial soul engineers, Elder Sun naturally would not show mercy. The other elders did not kill, but instead tried to cause as much destruction as possible. While the soul cannon bombardment just now was powerful, it also revealed the locations of the soul cannons the Sun Moon Empire had installed. Hence, they became targets for the many transcendent Dulwo. Beyond the sites of the soul cannons, they also attacked granaries and ammunition warehouses. That night was a nightmare for the Sun Moon Empire's border troops stationed near the Heavenly Soul Empire. Explosions boomed from midnight to dawn. When the sun rose once more, the main camp of the Sun Moon Empire was completely ruined. How could there be no class 9 soul engineers in charge of such an important camp? However, the 2 class 9 soul engineers in charge, they could do nothing in the face of 8 transcendent Dulwo. Furthermore, the attack took place at night. Without the high-altitude surveillance soul tools, how could they concentrate their fire on the elders of the Sea Gods Pavilion? War had yet to break out, but Shrek Academy was already using its strength to demonstrate to the Sun Moon Empire that soul masters were still the most powerful weapons of war. Elder Sun and the other elders did not hide their identities. Soon, news of this destruction spread throughout the Sun Moon Empire. Smash! A delicate tea bottle was shattered against the ground. Shu Tianran was so enraged that his face was pale. What the hell were the border troops doing? 400 soul engineers are injured or dead. A huge amount of soul cannons and ammunition were lost. Fools. A bunch of fools. Juzi sat next to Shu Tianran, clad in light golden regalia, and was silent. After Shu Tianran ascended to the throne, he named her his empress. Her position was unlike before. After Shu Tianran was done venting his anger, he calmed down, and a smile crept across the corner of his mouth as he said, Shrek, have you finally decided to strike? Someone go and summon the imperial tutor to discuss this matter. Yes. The guards outside replied frightfully, Empress, what do you think? Shu Tianran asked Juzi. Juzi stood up, walked behind Shu Tianran, and massaged his shoulders, saying, Your Majesty, please don't be too angry. This matter, to me, appears strange. While Shrek Academy is the top school on the continent, they do not belong to any country. Everyone knows that Shrek Academy is independent, and their position is exceptional. This time, their actions should be a form of retaliation against us for capturing the participants of the tournament. They want to force me to release them. Shu Tianran's eyes narrowed into slits. Juzi nodded and said, I believe that to be the case. They'll continue to attack. Faced with these powerful soul masters, it is indeed impossible to fight back. They rely on the border with the Heavenly Soul Empire and the Star Luo Empire, which makes it hard for us to strike back at them. Shu Tianran chuckled coldly and said, Do they want to see who is more destructive? In that case, no one can beat evil soul masters. Since they want to unleash destruction, I shall do it, too. Let's see who will crack first. Juzi shook her head and said, No, Your Majesty, you can't do that. We aren't ready yet. If we do that, we'll be provoking the war ahead of schedule. While the Holy Ghost Church is powerful, they cannot fight all the soul masters of the original 3 countries of the continent. This may be a trap set by our opponents. If the Holy Ghost Church suffers a major defeat, it will not do us any good. Shu Tianran was ultimately a crafty leader. Just now, anger had made him lose his reason, but he gradually calmed down and patted Juzi's hand. With you as my empress, I'm blessed indeed. Tell me, what should we do? A murderous aura flashed in her eyes as she said, Your Majesty, our empire still has a stockpile of class 9 stationary soul cannons. There are some that can shoot into the sky, right? Shu Tianran's eyes lit up as he said, Are you saying we should intimidate them? Yes. Kill 1 to scare 100. This will prevent them from being so arrogant. There are some soul masters who have yet to taste the might of a class 9 stationary soul cannon. A clear breeze intermingled with the aroma of nature. Insects and birds chirped in the forest, and sunlight cascaded down, casting faint rays that could not penetrate the thick foliage. Underneath a tree so wide that it would require at least 10 people to surround it, sat a person. Her powdery blue long hair hung loosely behind her back. As she was sitting down, her hair brushed the ground. Her eyes were shut, her long eyebrows curled slightly, and her nose was straight. Her skin was pale white, and her lips were supple. If beauty had a human form, this was it. Her long, slender legs were crossed as she sat straight. From the side, one could see her round, heaving posterior. Her slender figure, which stretched from her waist to her posterior, would attract the attention of any man. Even though her eyes were closed, she emitted an icy cold aura that deterred most beasts and men from approaching her. If one could sense the auras nearby, one would realize that apart from birds and insects, there were no large animals. This was one of the most mysterious and dangerous places in the Dulwo continent. Soul masters called it the slaughtering grounds, as it was the core region of the Great Stardo Forest. To humans, this was a deadly place. Even transcendent Dulwo would not dare come to this place without preparation, because half of the 10 great savage beasts of the Dulwo continent lived here. They each had extraordinary abilities, and were as intelligent as humans. Furthermore, they could also command the many powerful soul beasts inside the Great Stardo Forest. Normally, a 100,000-year soul beast was equivalent to a tidal Dulwo. In terms of strength, it depended on the innate skills of the individual soul beast, just like how it depended on the martial soul and soul skills of a tidal Dulwo. Once a soul beast broke through its bottleneck and reached a 200,000-year cultivation level, its power would rival that of a transcendent Dulwo. Every 100,000 years after that would be a matter of life and death for the soul Soul Beast. Undoubtedly, every time the Soul Beast overcame such a deadly test, its power would increase exponentially. It was like when Huo Yuao first met the Ice Empress. The terrifying power of the Ice Empress was enough to fight a rank 97 titled Duo. In the extreme north, even someone as powerful as Elder Sun might not have been able to defeat her. Among the 10 great savage beasts, however, the Ice Empress was only ranked 7th. As for the Snow Empress, the reason why she started to regress and almost self-destructed inside Huo Yuao was because her own power was way too strong. After a Soul Beast broke through the 500,000 year barrier, it would be as powerful as an ultimate Duo. In other words, the Snow Empress was as powerful as the Dragon Emperor Duo, Long Xiaya. If you met her in the extreme north, Long Xiaya would not dare to fight her head on. In the world of Soul Beasts, including the Snow Empress, 5 of the 10 great savage beasts were as powerful as ultimate Duo. They all held powerful positions. Naturally, they were the top 5 of the 10 great savage beasts. At this moment, in the core region of the Great Stardow Forest, the Slaughtering Grounds, lived the 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th and 8th of the 10 great savage beasts. They ruled over all the other soul beasts. To live in the Slaughtering Grounds, one had to have a cultivation of at least 100,000 years. Hence, this was the top place for Transcendent Duo to seek adventures. Once one reached the level of a Transcendent Duo, he would not need soul rings anymore. However, it was important to remember that the killing of a 100,000-year-old soul beast would not only spawn a 100,000-year soul ring, but more importantly, it would produce a soul bone. A 100,000-year soul bone which carried 2 soul skills. For soul masters, gold and riches were nothing. However, how many people could possess all 6 soul bones? Once a Transcendent Duo had a 100,000-year soul beast's soul bone, his power would experience a qualitative leap. Hence, many Transcendent Duo visited the Slaughtering Grounds. Some of them even killed a few 100,000-year soul beasts. In the end, this enraged the leaders of the soul beasts in the Great Stardow Forest. They launched an unprecedentedly terrifying beast wave, targeting Shrek City. It terrified all soul masters. Even though Shrek City was able to halt the invading beast wave with the help of the many disciples from Shrek Academy, as well as the body sect, the humans eventually compromised. Shrek Academy led a total of 27 titled Duo in promising, on behalf of all humans, that as long as a 100,000-year soul beast did not leave the Slaughtering Grounds, the humans would not enter it. Only then did the leaders of the soul beasts calm down and end their destructive beast wave, and the devastation it brought in its wake. From that moment on, the Slaughtering Grounds in the Great Stardow Forest became a forbidden zone for humans. Not a single human could be found there. The beasts with more than 100,000-year cultivation all fell into a deep slumber. They gathered their energy and prepared to break through their next calamity. Under this backdrop, in the spiritual aura-filled Slaughter Grounds, sat a woman. How could this scene not be shocking? Could it mean that the promise between humans and beasts was broken? Suddenly, the woman's body started to tremble slightly. Following that, a strange scene appeared. A golden light shone in the center of her forehead. This golden light extended into a ray of light about 1 inch long. The golden ray then split into 2 and turned into a golden eye, which looked up into the endless night sky. When the eye shone, everything around it seemed to lose its color. The chirping of birds and insects suddenly stopped. It was as if the eye was the only thing that was alive and was judging everything before it. The eye looked into the distance and gradually started to ripple clearly. A wave of gentle golden light starting to spread from the girl's body. Light flashed, and the girl started to move. She stood up, and the moment she did, her slim, slender body became even more alluring. The golden eye on her forehead now closed, but her powdery blue eyes, obscured slightly by her long lashes, opened instantly. Her eyes seemed glazed as she mumbled to herself. Why? Why can't I forget him? I control the power of destiny, but I can't control my own. What irony is this? His destiny. Why will he? At this moment, the dazed look in her eyes turned into panic. Her entire mental state appeared different as she emitted a completely different aura. She started to pace up and down, and the aura from her body became increasingly unstable. Her petite face was panicky, then angry, then resolute, and then it softened. The constant changes in her facial expression reflected the turmoil in her heart. Finally, she grit her teeth and looked at the thick canopy above her head. She took in a deep breath and said, I'll go. I must go. I can't be clouded by destiny. I want to help him change his destiny, and mine too. I want to fight for this one chance. She stopped mumbling to herself. Suddenly, she jumped and pierced through the thick foliage like a golden cannon shell. She flew into the air, leaving only a lingering fragrance in the forest. Sunrise City. With the continual development of soul tools, more and more lower-level soul tools started to enter the daily lives of the common folk of the Sun Moon Empire. Perhaps the Sun Moon Empire's high-level soul engineers could not rival the soul masters from the original free cut of the Duo continent, but it had more low-level soul masters. This was a result of their advances in soul engineering. On the Duo continent, everyone could awaken their martial soul at the age of 6, regardless of what their martial soul was. They could all cultivate. However, those who could truly make a name for themselves in the soul master world could not just rely on cultivation. For many of them, even after they had awakened their martial soul, their soul power would only be between rank 1 and rank 3. This was a huge limitation on their future cultivation, which was not just limited to the first 10 ranks. If they were not innately talented, they would get very little in return for their effort. In particular, if their martial soul had no practical use, such as those which were hoes, cups, or plates, there was no need for them to continue cultivating. Because of this, many of those who were not gifted in this aspect had no way of continuing their cultivation. Their lack of innate talent prevented them from receiving an education from an excellent academy, and often they could not afford the exorbitant fees of a soul master school. Very few were like Huo Yuao, who was able to use makeup for his lack of innate talent with hard work. However, the situation over in the Sun Moon Empire was different. A few hundred years ago, with the development of soul engineering, this situation was greatly ameliorated. In the Sun Moon Empire, the awakening of one's martial soul would also mean that as long as one had soul power, he or she would qualify for free training subsidized by the Empire. They would even be given medicines that could increase their soul power. While these medicines might have side effects, it was glorious to become a soul master. Being a soul master meant that one was superior to his peers. Who would give up such a chance? So what if your martial soul was useless? As long as you had soul power, you could use soul tools. With soul tools, it would not be hard to attack or defend yourself. Perhaps it was a result of the medicines, but soul masters without innate talent could possess only 2 or 3 rings at most. However, as the numbers of this group of people grew, the overall situation changed. Their existence was a strong foundation upon which the Sun Moon Empire built its soul engineer legions. At the same time, they allowed for more civilian soul tools to be used by the ordinary citizens of the Sun Moon Empire. How was the Sun Moon Empire able to resist the 3 empires of the Duo continent? This was one of the major reasons. Undoubtedly, in terms of soul engineering technology and the nurturing of soul engineers, the Sun Moon Empire had a very large lead. Sunrise City was only a small to medium-sized city in the Sun Moon Empire. It was not as huge as Radiant City, and in total, it had fewer than 100,000 permanent residents. Counting its non-permanent residents, it had about 500,000 inhabitants at any given time. However, in the past few months, the city had undergone a complete change. Its 15-meter-tall city walls were now filled with a huge amount of searchlights and various surveillance tools. Outside Sunrise City were 2 soul engineering legions, each of which had 500 men. In the Sun Moon Empire, soul engineer legions were ranked differently. The most powerful one was the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Legion, which was the most powerful force in the empire. One soul power had to be at least rank 50 to join it. In other words, only soul kings were qualified to enter it. In total, it had 300 men. Among them were 3 legion commanders and 3 legion vice commanders, all of whom were class 9 soul engineers who were loyal only to the imperial family. Only the emperor of the Sun Moon Empire could use this powerful soul engineering legion. They were equipped with the top soul tools, and they received the best treatment among all the soldiers in the Sun Moon Empire. The upkeep for this one legion was equivalent to the tax revenue of 2 big cities. This was the force which guarded Radiant City, and they were the most loyal and important fighting force of the emperor. Together with the Imperial Palace of Consecration, they were the 2 pillars of the monarchy. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.